Hey there, this is James Wilson with MTB Strength Training Systems, and welcome to the guide to riding for a lifetime for the 40-plus-year-old rider. Like you, I am an avid mountain biker. I've been doing this for a long time. I started riding mountain bikes back in 2000. I've also been a fitness and strength coach for quite a while now. It's been over 25 years since I've been doing this professionally. And over 20 of those years, I have been focused on mountain bikers specifically. I started MTB Strength Training Systems back in 2005 as a way to help my fellow riders learn how to use functional training to help them improve their fitness and enjoy riding more. Back then, there was no mountain bike specific strength and conditioning info. When I started riding bikes, one of the first things that I did, having a background in strength training for athletics, was to start researching how do I use strength training to get better at my sport, because I knew that strength training was one of the fastest ways to improve your physical capacities and help you get better at your sport. So I started doing a lot of research and I couldn't find anything. There was literally nothing in the way of true mountain bike specific strength training information. A little bit of stuff that you could find was all bodybuilding BS in disguise. It was just a bunch of, leg press and leg curls and leg extensions and 3 sets of 10, which is not the best, most efficient way to train to improve your performance. There is a place for stuff like that, but not your entire program if you're a mountain biker. And so I had started using the stuff that I knew from my own experience that helped athletes improve their performance, and saw an improvement with my riding, started working with some other riders, and eventually, like I said, in 2005, I came up with the idea to start MTB Strength Training Systems so that I could start sharing this information with other riders. Since that time, since I started MTB Strength Training Systems, I have helped thousands and thousands and thousands of riders around the world enjoy riding more. I've written for Pink Bike. I've written for all the top magazines and websites at one point in time. I've worked with a lot of top pro riders. In fact, I was Aaron Gwynn's first strength coach when he first started mountain biking. I've worked with the Yeti World Cup Team. Again, a lot of other pro riders and stuff. And so I've got a ton of experience in helping everyone from just the weekend warrior, everyday rider, to professional riders who actually earn a living based on their performance and need to be able to perform at the highest levels. Since turning 40, though, my focus has shifted quite a bit from just kind of general performance and helping pro riders to helping older riders who have the goal of riding for a lifetime. When I turned 40, again, if you're listening to this, and odds are you're in that crowd or quickly approaching it, but you realize that age is more than just a number. We like to say that. It is definitely not an excuse to just let things start to fall apart. But the reality is that once you hit 40, that things start to change with your body, and you do need to start to account for that with your training approach. And so again, much like when I started MTB Strength Training Systems back in 2005, after spending several years working on myself and other riders who had similar goals, I started to share this information again under the riding for a lifetime context, because if you're listening to this, and odds are that you love mountain biking, you want to be able to do this for as long as you want. Nothing is worse than having to stop doing something you love because you physically can't do it anymore. And so with good training, you can extend that out and get to where you can, ride for a lifetime. So in this guide, I wanted to give you my top tips for achieving that goal. Now, the bonus of this is that this information will also improve your longevity and fitness off of the bike as well. And so not only will you be able to improve your riding and be able to ride at a higher level for longer, you're also going to improve your general health and fitness and be able to maintain that for longer as well. So with that said, let's get into the tips. Now, number one is that strength training is no longer optional. When you think about getting older, what you're really seeing when you think about an older person is the physical decline that goes along with getting older, right? And so you lose strength, you lose power, you lose endurance, you lose muscle mass, and that leads to decreased physical capacity. And it's that decreased physical capacity that we associate with aging and is the thing that we really want to avoid. And like I said, like once you hit 40, everyone's going to start to experience this physical decline. Strength training has been shown in many studies and just, also just, real world experience to be a fountain of youth, if you will. It is the most effective way, really, to counter this decline. There's really nothing that comes even close to strength training and helping to do that. So it'll really help you slow the decline, and in some cases, you can actually reverse it and see improvements. So, you can get away without strength training in your 20s and 30s. Obviously, I recommend doing that because the sooner you start, the better foundation you're going to lay, the more of just a habit, a lifestyle habit that you have. But the thing is you can get away without it, right? When you're in your 20s and 30s, your physical capacities are at the point where if you don't strength train, then you're still going to be able to perform at a relatively high level. But after you hit 40, this physical decline makes strength training a must if you want to be able to maintain the ability to function at a high capacity on and off of the bike. So that's number one, is that you have to strength train. Like you cannot tell me that you have a goal of wanting to be able to ride for a lifetime and then say that you don't want to strength train, or that those two things are just completely incompatible with each other. So if you have not made strength training a part of your lifestyle, a part of your habits, then it has to become one to help you achieve that goal of riding for a lifetime. So with this tip, the take-home message is pretty simple. Use strength training 2 to 4 times a week to slow this physical decline and set a foundation for the riding for a lifetime goal that you have. Now, the second tip ties into the strength training, so some specific stuff, and this one is to work on building and maintaining muscle mass. Now, this is one of the biggest differences in strength training programs for the 40-plus-year-old rider versus the younger rider is the need. You have to have some sort of quote-unquote bodybuilding type elements in your overall workout plan. Now, earlier I touched on how a lot of the early mountain bike strength training programs in the early 2000s, if you could find one, was really just bodybuilding in disguise. Now, the problem with that is that that's all that they had you doing. There was no good functional training. There was a lot of machines, a lot of 3 sets of 10, and so functional training is going to be having you do real world movements, so things like the deadlift and squat and presses, working on strength so that you're doing 5 reps in a set and doing things that will help build strength and power, not just muscle mass. But as you get older, you do have to contend with the loss of muscle mass. Sarcopenia is the fancy name for it, but it is one of the most nefarious effects of getting older is that loss of muscle mass. Muscle mass is the engine for your strength and power. And if as you lose muscle mass, it's going to also be a big driver of your physical decline. On top of that, muscle mass is metabolically active, so your metabolism slows down as you lose muscle. It is, a big user of blood sugar, so it helps, maintain blood sugar levels. So the more muscle mass you have, then the longer it's going to take for the sarcopenia, the muscle mass decline, to get to the point to where it really starts to impact your performance. So again, like I said, muscle mass is linked to health and longevity. It's linked to performance. And so there's a lot of reasons for you to have building and maintaining muscle mass as one of your goals as a 40-plus-year-old rider. So along with your strength training, the functional training stuff that we're going to do, or that you want to do to help with your performance, you want to do some work to maintain or even increase your muscle mass to really make sure that decline takes as long as possible before it starts to make a difference in your performance. So the take-home message with this tip is to use bodybuilding strategy sparingly, right? Like I'm talking like 10 to 20% of what you do with your program should have some sort of bodybuilding type focus. But again, doing things like, 3 sets of 10 to 15 reps, doing some quote unquote isolation work, like on your arms and shoulders and things, is going to be a good part of your overall training program. So make sure that you're thinking about that. But again, a big difference between training a 20-year-old, a pro in their 20s who is really trying to maximize their strength to weight ratio. They really want to minimize weight gain, to the 40-plus-year-old rider who needs to stop worrying about adding a pound of muscle because it's going to negatively impact their performance. Odds are pretty high that it's not going to negatively impact your performance, and it becomes more and more important for you as you get older to have that as a goal, as part of your training goals, is to build and maintain muscle mass. So the next tip that I have that also ties into your strength training program is to use isometrics to build strength in a safe and effective way. And isometrics are exercises where you're creating tension without creating movement. So think about like pushing into a wall, right? Like you're creating like a chest press type movement, pressing into a wall, but that wall is not going to move. And so you're creating tension in the same muscles that you would be if you were doing a press, but you're not creating movement while you're doing that. Isometrics were a very popular way to train at one point in time. There's a lot of science behind it to support using it to build strength, especially the type of strength you need to create stability in the body, and that stability is needed to create movement. For example, an isometric exercise that a lot of people do is a plank. Okay, we talk about, when people are talking about core training and they're doing planks and they're trying to build a strong core because they need that strong core to create the foundation for their movement, and all of that is relevant and true. But the thing is that you can take this idea beyond just doing planks, right? And you can use isometrics to build strength in a very effective way in all of the areas and movement patterns that you need. As a bonus for us older riders, isometrics have been shown to have a positive effect on high blood pressure. In fact, some studies have shown that it's as good as medication. And so if you are dealing with high blood pressure, or even just want to make sure that it's not something that you need to worry about, then isometrics can actually help with that as well. One of the big benefits for us with training with isometrics is because you're not moving. You're creating a lot of tension, but you're not creating movement, and that really lowers the risk of injury, especially if you're dealing with overuse injuries or previous injuries. And again, if you're in the 40-plus crowd, odds are you have some sort of issues from previous injuries or things that have just built up over the years. And so having a way to safely build strength that lowers that injury risk is extremely important for us as older riders. So isometrics are an ideal choice for the 40-plus-year-old rider to have in their strength training program. In fact, you could just do isometrics if you're really crunched on time and equipment and all that. Then doing a program of isometrics and then adding in your bike riding and some mobility work is actually a pretty decent way to go about approaching this problem of getting stronger and maintaining your strength and fitness as an older rider. And so the take-home message here is to start using isometrics in your strength training program. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this. In fact, I'll include a link to some podcasts and blog posts that I've done on isometrics to go into more detail about why it's great, some ways to do it. But an easy way to do it is to use isometric holds. And so again, we talked about the plank. The plank is just basically an isometric hold where you're down on your elbows on the, in a plank position. You can also use a push-up, either with your arms extended, or a really hard variation is to hold yourself at the bottom of a push-up. So come down to where your chest is just just an inch or so off of the floor and hold that position. And again, you start with whatever you can, right? But you want to try to aim for 30 to 90 seconds. I would say 60 seconds is a pretty standard thing, and in my opinion, if you can hold the bottom of a push-up hold or a push-up for 60 seconds, then you've got good stability in that movement pattern in the core and the shoulders. Another good one to incorporate is a lunge hold. So same thing, like get into a lunge position or like a split squat position and come down to the bottom of that split squat or lunge position and then hold that. This is a killer. This is a really hard move to do, but it will build strength and stability in the hips and the legs, really helps increase your standing pedaling endurance and power. That's also one of the studies that I came across when I've been researching isometrics was that one study found that isometrics help to increase the amount of enzymes responsible for aerobic metabolism in the muscles. So there's actually some evidence that points towards isometrics being good for endurance as well. So not only are you getting stronger and building your stability, but you're also potentially improving your endurance as well. And because isometrics are hard to do, they also help improve that mental toughness and that grind that you need to be able to grind through like tough climbs and efforts on the trail. So isometrics have a lot of carryover for us from our workouts to the trail. So make sure that you're incorporating isometrics. Very easy to start using the push-up and the lunge hold as part of your training program. So moving on from the strength training stuff. So strength training is very important, but we also want to worry about our cardio. And so the next tip is about your cardio training. So this one is don't rely on intervals for your cardio training. Use anti-glycolytic training instead. Now, intervals are very effective, right? But there's a couple problems with them. One is that they really are most effective for 4 to 6 weeks. So if you're going to use them for a relatively short period of time, like 4 to 6 weeks, to peak for a race or an event or something like that. But they're really not a great choice to be a cornerstone of your long-term cardio training. For one, intervals are very hard on the body. You've got to push yourself extremely hard to get the benefits from intervals. And again, as we get older, we're starting to we just don't recover from hard workouts as well. So again, you can get away with doing a lot of intervals in your 20s and 30s, but as you get older, it becomes harder and harder to recover from them and get the benefits from them because of that. They also create an internal environment. There's a lot of acid and stuff that gets released, the lactic acid, the hydrogen ions, like that internal environment that gets created when you're doing intervals can have a negative impact on your mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria are the powerhouses found in your cells that actually create energy for you to do everything with, right? And mitochondria, their health and their density, the more of them you have and the healthier they are, this has been linked to overall health and fitness and longevity. So you want to work on your cardio in a way that supports mitochondrial health and density, not potentially takes away from it. And so this is where a training style called anti-glycolytic training comes in. And basically what you do is you use short repeats. Now you have repeats and you've got intervals. The difference is repeats are very similar to intervals, but you're allowing yourself to get almost complete rest between bouts of work. Whereas with intervals, it's incomplete rest. And so you're working really hard and then you're not fully recovering and then you're working hard again, then you're not fully recovering and you're working hard again. Those are intervals. Repeats are working hard, recover, work hard, recover. And so what this does is the short repeats with near complete rest allow you to build your strength endurance capacity very effectively, and also helps to improve your ability to recover from hard effort. So again, on the trail, a lot of times it's not just a consistent effort, right? Like a lot of climbs, a lot of rides, you have these bursts of hard effort, and then you got a period of lower effort, and then a burst of harder effort. And so if you're able to recover very effectively during those periods of lower effort, then it's actually going to increase your overall endurance. And so that's where the anti-glycolytic training comes in, because you're working on your fast twitch muscle fibers, the endurance of these fast twitch power and strength fibers, but then you're also working on your ability to use your aerobic system to recover from these efforts effectively. And so the science behind this type of training is very strong, and it shows that it is a superior way to train for activities that require repeated bursts of high intensity effort like mountain biking does. So again, I'll include a link to a podcast that I did going over anti-glycolytic training and talking about the science behind it and some training ideas for it. But the take-home message is to not rely on intervals, and to look into and start to incorporate this anti-glycolytic training into your workouts. And so an easy way to do this is think about doing like 5 to 10 seconds of work. You want it to be, hard and intense, but you're only doing it for 5 to 10 seconds, and then give yourself about a minute to recover. And so this relatively short burst of work with a longer recovery period is going to fit into the framework of what we're looking for this anti-glycolytic training. Then you just repeat that for 10 to 30 minutes. So you could do something like kettlebell swings, which is my favorite. So again, doing like 5 swings, rest for a minute, 5 swings, rest for a minute. Very effective way to do the anti-glycolytic training. Jump squats, if you don't have kettlebells, is another effective way to do this. Again, just 5 seconds worth of jump squats, which is only going to be 3, maybe 4 reps. So again, very, very low volume with each one, but you're going to be repeating it for like 10 to 20 to 30 minutes. And so the volume is going to build up. The amount of total reps you're doing does build up to the point where it elicits a response, but because you're not doing a lot of effort, a lot of volume and reps in one set, that it just creates a different internal environment, which leads to these better results. Or you could also use your bike, right? So you could use an exercise bike like an Airdyne or your bike on the trainer. Again, 5 seconds to 10 seconds of work with a minute or so of rest is a good way to do this. And so you want to do this 2 to 3 times a week for best results. Now, again, if you're riding a lot, it's the riding season, then I'd do it like 1 to 2 times. Again, if you don't have the time and energy, riding is always the most important thing. But when you are at a period where you are really trying to focus on your cardio, and so you're doing more cardio work, then you want to try to focus on this style of training more than intervals. In fact, I don't really use intervals myself much anymore. Again, if I am using them, it's to peak for something. But I found that this anti-glycolytic training has had a really positive impact on my performance, and also some of my health markers as well. Like my morning resting heart rate has gone down, my HRV has gone up. So I've seen some impacts on my health markers, my longevity markers as well, from doing this type of training. And it's also just easier on the body, easier mentally. It's kind of an enjoyable way to work out. You could actually do one of these workouts and then go for a ride afterwards, and it's not really going to affect you too much. Whereas like if you do a hard interval workout, man, you're done, right? It's really tough to go and ride hard or perform at a high level for a day or two after a hard interval workout. And so it gives you some of your time back in a way. And so there's that one with the cardio. And then the final tip that I have for you is to do some sort of mobility work every day. So getting stiff and losing mobility is another thing that happens with age. This loss of mobility increases your injury risk. And again, as we get older, getting hurt becomes more and more of a big deal because we don't recover as fast, and we're not able to recover from the injury and get back at it quicker or as fast as we could when we were younger. And so we really want to try to avoid injury as much as possible. So mobility is a good way to decrease your injury risk. Stiffness in the muscles also makes it harder to display strength and endurance. The stiffer the muscles are, the harder it is to use the strength and endurance that you have. And also for us as mountain bikers, losing mobility is going to have a negative impact on our technical skills and our ability to get into balanced positions on the bike. So our technical skills are just our ability to manipulate our body in a way that gets us into a balanced position on the bike to execute what we need to do, whether it is cornering or bunny hopping or jumping or riding through a rock garden or climbing or whatever that is. It all comes down to your ability to get your body into the best position to be able to create strength and power and maintain balance from. And a lot of riders struggle with their technical skills because they lack the ability to do that. They physically cannot get their body into the positions needed to optimally execute the skills. And so if you let your mobility decrease, you're going to find your skills decreasing as well. And skills are kind of a secret hack for you as an older rider for your endurance, right? The better your skills are, the less energy that you're using to make up for that lack of skill. And so it's also a safety thing. The better your skills are, the safer you're going to be on the trail. And so there's a lot of positive impacts from maintaining and improving your technical skills as you get older. And a foundational part of that is your mobility. So don't sleep on your mobility. Make sure that you're working on that. Now, one of the things that you're going to find is that with mobility, a little bit every day is going to be better than 1 to 2 long sessions a week. So I'd rather see you spend 10 to 15 minutes a day doing some stretching or foam rolling or some sort of other soft tissue or mobility work, rather than like going to a yoga class once a week and then doing nothing else the rest of the week. Now, obviously being fit in the yoga class or something like that, along with your daily mobility, that's going to be even better. But look to be consistent on a daily basis rather than try to just focus on like 1 or 2 long mobility sessions each week. So again, the take-home message with this one is to spend that 10 to 15 minutes a day doing some stretches, really focusing on the shoulders and the hips. Those are the areas that are going to get stiff and really start to affect your ability to move well and start to impact your performance and also just your comfort and your ability to function in life in an effective way. So that's it for these tips. Thanks for taking the time to let me share this info with you. Be sure to check out the links provided with this guide for more in-depth information on these subjects. Again, I'm going to include stuff that'll help you dig more into strength training, isometrics, anti-glycolytic training, so you can learn more. Again, I'm hoping that this guide is a jump-off point for you to start your journey into educating yourself on what you need to do to be able to achieve this goal of riding for a lifetime. You can visit bikejames.com for more training tips like this, as well as that's where you can find the training programs that I've created that are geared specifically for mountain biking. I'd like to highlight the 40 plus MTB rider training program. It was the first program to focus on the 40 plus year old mountain biker. And in that program, I show you how to integrate everything that you learn about in this guide into a simple, effective training program. It also has 2 different workouts. One is body weight only, so in case you don't have any equipment at all, that's not an excuse to not get started. Or you can, if you got some kettlebells or dumbbells, then I've got a kettlebell/dumbbell version that you can use as well. So whatever equipment you have, there's a workout in there for you to be able to do. So that's going to do it for this guide. Again, thanks for taking the time to let me share this stuff with you. If you have any questions about this or anything else related to your training or riding, let me know. Hit me up at james@bikejames.com. I'm always happy to help, and I will talk to you next time.